he is one of our favorites. Certainly when everything Patriots crops up, this is who we reach out to. The man's been covering the Patriots forever and a day. For NBC Sports Boston, back here on the Rich Eisen Show is none other than Tom Curran. How are you, Tom?
Hey, handsome. How are you?
I'm fine. Are you the sexiest man alive in New England right now? Is that what it is?
Sexiest man in my house right now, although I got some strong competition from 22-year-old Tim Curran.
Very good.
Working at home remotely.
Tim E. Curran? Is it an E also?
No, he's an R.
Okay,
He's
Tim R. Curran. Okay,
yeah.
Very good. So are the Patriots in on Odell or they're not right now?
They're banging on the window. They're banging on the glass saying, hey, look at us. And he fills the need that they have on their team. And, you know, from folks I've spoken to down there, they're intrigued by the prospect of it. They believe that he does fill a need that they have for short area, ability to get open, to be a physical receiver, to do things in the red zone and on short yardage the Patriots don't really have anyone to do. So they're definitely interested. I just don't know if they're going to be persuasive enough with the quarterback situation in their overall offense to get it done. It sounds like it's not trending that way, but the Patriots definitely interested.
They are interested. What about the idea that bringing in someone who from Cleveland that wasn't, you know, you're hearing the narrative about not being a precise route runner in a precision offense where you need to be, where you've got to be, do your job. Essentially, don't ever run off of script if you don't have to when you have a job to do and we tell you what the script is, and as long as you follow it, we hang banners. That's not a concern at all?
I just think does he have the capacity to be precise? I'm sure he does.
Sure.
Not a dumb guy. I think there's a lack of respect. They're probably an emboldened guy, too, by the contracts he's been given, whether it's in New York and you're playing for Ben McAdoo and you finally say, I'm just not getting the ball and my quarterback's not good enough, or you're in Kansas City and you're playing for Kevin Stefanski, who certainly has done enough to warrant a level of respect, but you don't think you're being taken your role is not being taken advantage of well enough. But I just don't think that when you come to New England on an 8-game audition, when you have to rehab your career, you're going to start telling the Patriots how it's going to be and what your particular Randy ratio will be. I just can't imagine, as much as he acts out, as immature as he might be, as divisive as he has been, that he would be dumb enough to come into an audition period and try and say, here's the lay of the land for OBJ, Bill.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you with me on that, right?
No, I don't know how divisive he is, though, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, every teammate kind of digs him from, maybe Mayfield feels differently or a couple of people in Cleveland. But, when he left the Giants, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he would actually be an outstanding fit for New England in a way that I think that Bill takes somebody else's either problem or supposedly declining player or player that didn't fit in where you have, and then they come to you, to the New England Patriots, and start balling out. I mean, Muhammad's, as I said earlier this week, that there's Randy Moss on one end of that scale, clearly, as a Hall of Famer, and Mohamed Sanu on the other end of that scale, right? And Beckham would be closer to Randy Moss than Mohamed Sanu, in my estimation.
He sure would. And when we talk about this, Bill did give us insight a long time ago. And this is the great thing about covering the team for so long, is you get to understand, when he was more open, how his mind works. He said about guys like Corey Dillon,
right?
Specifically Corey Dillon, if you look at his resume, every problem he had was football related. Now, he had a tough upbringing. He was a pain in the ass out in Seattle, and he had all kinds of trouble as a kid. But his problems in Cincinnati as a running back were on field, and how he was used was not off-field stuff. Now, he certainly deviated from that with Antonio Brown. His stuff was not football related. It was just, he was nuts. I mean, he behaved in bizarre ways. I think OBJ would be closer to a guy whose issues are football related rather than off-field. So that would be, to me, a reason that Bill Belichick would be more in the market for Odell Beckham Jr. But I guess what we have to wonder, too, is what's the upshot of the New England Patriots 2021 season? no matter what's going on in Kansas City, you know that they're going to right the ship and be in contention to play in, if not win a Super Bowl. Same thing with Green Bay. Seattle, with Russell Wilson, I would say the same thing. You can change things in 8 games. With New Orleans, it's a homecoming, and you're still playing with a Hall of Fame head coach. In New England, I just don't know if the pieces are in place because this is still, Rich, a rebuilding team. It's 5-4 because the Patriots don't bottom out like the Jaguars or the Dolphins or other teams that have to go 2-14 and they rebuild. Last year was their crater. Now they're still rebuilding, but they're playoff contenders.
Tom Curran here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get into that about what the Patriots are in 2021. I saw them in SoFi a couple weeks ago with my own 2 eyes, and that looked like a playoff team to me, Tom. That was a playoff team. Yeah. That was a team that went into, cross the country, all those time zones away, went into an opposing team's building. There was seemingly half of Quincy in the stands, though, to be honest with you, and surrounding areas. But it still was a highly impressive victory from the fact that Mac Jones was the guy who read the defenses and took what was given to him and then was able to exploit things when he could, not Justin Herbert, the defense that played and balled out and turned things over just when you needed to and then played the game smartly when the clock was winding down by sliding to keep from going out of bounds. They were situationally more brilliant. That looked like the Patriots to me. That's not last year, this year. What is, from your perspective, going on to get them to this 5-4 mark and seemingly back, Tom?
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and they're very well coached, and they stayed the course defensively and actually changed it a little bit. I don't want to get too X's and O's, but they've gone away from the man stuff, and they're way more zone, so a simpler defense generally to run. So there's fewer busts like we saw maybe against Dallas, which cost them that game. Really, I mean, Rich, you don't even have to really squint too hard to see how this team could be 8-1.
Right.
They're 5-4. Dallas, Tampa, and the fumble-plagued loss in the opener to Miami could have all been wins. Again, ifs and nuts,
This and candies,
whatever the hell it is.
Yes, right.
My aunt, my uncle, everything else.
Yes.
But I mean, you look at this team, and they're highly capable, but they're never going to blow teams out. I mean, they kind of did, obviously, with the Jets, but they're going to be very close to the bone all year long. They're going to be close to the bone this week with Cleveland. They have to play precisely, and it's part of the reason is they have uncertainty in key spots, and that's in terms of protection. It's at both tackle spots where Trent Brown has been absent because of injury and Isaiah Wynn has underachieved, and it's because of a lack of explosiveness. Henry, Jonnu Smith, Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, they're fine as a group, but you're not walking in the way you would with Edelman or Gronkowski and saying, oh, my God, what are we going to do about this guy? We better send 2.5 to him. You don't have to send 2.5 to anybody on the Patriots offense, and eventually that's going to bite him.
And that's why Bill is essentially holding up the boombox outside of OBJ's window right now?
I think that it's got to be, hey, we're just missing this. So why not roll the dice and see how far we can get?
Tom Curran here on the Rich Eisen Show. The fact that they are even thinking about let's add Odell right now, or they're in on it, I think is just the latest sign of how they feel like they are in fact set at quarterback, and that Odell could be in fact enticed to join Belichick's organization and team and things like that. And Beckham has been on record as being very complimentary and lauding Belichick. Because Mac Jones is he doesn't look like a rookie, man. I didn't see that at all. I saw him wait for receivers to clear against the Chargers. He didn't panic. He threw the ball away when he should. That was not a rookie quarterback I saw a couple weeks ago. You got a good story of right now of where Jones is in his development and what the Patriots feel on that front?
He has Mac-toed a little bit because between last week and this week, those were his two least impressive games, really, in terms of accuracy. And I would watch that for this week with Cleveland, too, because the edge rushers from Carolina bothered him, and he had he was accurate, but he did not have a good second half. And I thought that with the Chargers, he was really inaccurate on some throws. You're exactly right. And that's the coolest thing about his development is you see a player like, say, for instance, Zach Wilson throw a pick or two early, and then it's just an avalanche. With Mac Jones, whether it's a bad practice or a bad series in training camp, or it's in the regular season, he has a bad series, throws a pick six against the Cowboys, and then comes back and throws a touchdown. His resilience is ridiculous. But he has, in the last 2 weeks, plateaued just a little bit. He's playing like closer to a rookie than he had been as a 5-year veteran. I'm not nitpicking what your point on the Chargers game was. The way he closed that game was really impressive because he didn't turn into a puddle.
No.
He fixed it. And that's what you need from a young quarterback if he's going to be shouldered with all that. That's why, to me, Rich, the conversation about who the offensive rookie of the year is kind of a non-starter. I mean, it's got to be Mac Jones, no matter what Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase do. Mac Jones has, in the last calendar year, gone from Alabama, gone through the draft process where he was the fifth best quarterback and maybe a second rounder to being the fifth one taken, 15th overall, unseats Cam Newton, a former MVP, begins the season as a starter, rolls, in one of the more storied places, has the team in a position to go to the playoffs, has to shoulder all that, has to be as efficient as he has been, has to succeed Tom Brady, has to compete against Tom Brady. I mean, a receiver is, even an outstanding otherworldly receiver, never going to compare to shouldering the same load as a good to very good quarterback. And the impact is never going to be the same. That's why, to me, your offensive rookie of the year is and should be almost always by default the quarterback. That's why I voted for Herbert over our very, very brilliant Justin Jefferson last year, who I loved. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think it should go the same way with Jamar Chase.
There's Najee Harris, too, out there as well.
Yeah,
and,
you're right.
I mean,
can you find a guy? I mean, it was so funny the other night. He had one of those Le'Veon Bell runs.
Yeah,
just pick and then took off.
And the reason why the Steelers have won 4 in a row is because he has come to the fore, and they are centering their offense around him, and it allows Ben to find the guys down the field. You know what I mean? And Roethlisberger is definitely more upright and clean, and so at some point that's going to be the case, but. I had Matthew Judon on Monday's show, Tom Curran, and asked him about Mac Jones. And one of the things that I definitely followed up on when he was talking about what's impressive about Mac Jones, he said the spirit that he takes coaching with. And I just found that interesting that a defensive player is noticing that from afar or he's seen it up close. Are they coaching him really hard? Are they getting in his ear hole? Stuff like that?
Ridiculously hard. Yeah. I mean, they were crushing Carolina, even though not on the scoreboard. Carolina had no shot the other day. Could have locked them in the gym all day, and they wouldn't have scored a hoop. And he had two, Mac Jones did, in the second half. He had a really sluggish drive where he threw one into the cheerleaders and then overthrew one. It was just sloppy-looking passes. And McDaniels just tore it to him on the bench. And it's just interesting because you don't see that with a lot of rookie quarterbacks because there's a mentality of coddling, bringing them along. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's going to make some. I mean, you get a 4-pick game out of Zach Wilson. It's like, yeah, we'd like to have a few of those back. What? Call it like you see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, he gets it hard.
No, I definitely wanted to ask about that. So, a last one for you. What do you think Belichick's dialing up for this week? What do you think with Baker coming in, no Chubb? They just had a terrific performance, obviously, against Cincinnati. What do you think first blush might be coming Cleveland's way and what I think is one of the marquee games of week
I agree
10.
with you. They will be playing. It'll be interesting because I don't know if they'll go the cover 2 stuff that they did. They haven't seen, the Chargers. They did a lot of, zone, but that was a better throwing team. I don't think the Chargers are that. The Browns are that. The Browns are kind of a mirror image of the Patriots. Running game, tight ends, pretty smart quarterback who can be accurate. So I would say they're going to challenge Baker Mayfield and see if he can throw over the top a little bit, and they're going to, when he does that, rely on your Monday guest, Matthew Judon, who is playing at certainly a Pro Bowl level, maybe even an All-Pro level.
He's been great. Tom, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Let's
buddy.
chat down the line. You be well.
Okay.
That's
See ya.
Tom Curran, Patriots Insider, NBC Sports Boston, everybody. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.